So this is how volcanoes can cool down the Earth without poisoning everybody. The enormous explosion hurls ash and sulfur dioxide and other chemicals so hard upwards that they make it all the way through the troposphere and into the stratosphere, which normal weather does not do. Once they're in the stratosphere, they will stay there for a long time and be carried around the world because there's no weather to wash them out. The sulfur dioxide that's been kicked up there, hundreds of thousands of tons of it, is broken down by ultraviolet light from the sun to form H2SO4, sulfuric acid, which form tiny droplets or particles, and it's these that reflect the sunlight away. And eventually chemistry destroys them and some of them move down, but it lasts a long time. So this is the idea of how we could use so-called stratospheric aerosol injection to cool the world down. The idea is we basically duplicate what the volcanoes do artificially. We put fine particles into the stratosphere. If we can put them there, there's no convection to produce rain, so they don't come down for a very long time. We know that volcanoes inject SO2, sulfur dioxide, which forms tiny grains, and this cools the Earth down, so we might well do the same, though people have speculated about other things you might inject into it. How would you do it? You might have balloons or special aircraft. So here's an idea with some sort of tethered balloon where you have canisters that are winched up the cable and injected at the top. We're going to have to inject hundreds of thousands of tons of it, but once again that's actually no more than is already being injected into the atmosphere in pollution by other airliners, so that's not at the right altitude, not the right materials. So it would be perfectly feasible to have families of balloons or families of specially designed aircraft to belch whichever chemical we choose into the stratosphere. It does whiten the sky. So some of the light is going to get scattered in the sky, so you're not going to get deep blue skies anymore. And in fact, this has been seen from some volcanic eruptions. Volcanic eruption, the biggest recent historical one, is Mount Tambora in the early 19th century. And this caused the year without a summer in Europe because there was so much pollution in the atmosphere that it caused crops to fail and made everything very cold around the world. It was much worse than Mount Pinatubo, and it was also famous for the sunsets and the milky view of the sky during this year, though people in Europe didn't know what had caused it, the volcano being the other way around the world. And this led to many famous paintings by people like Turner. This is his famous painting, The Fighting Temeraire. Don't worry about the ship in the foreground. Look at the atmosphere in the background. It's very white. It's not a blue sky. Very strong sunsets. And this could be caused by this injection of these fine particles of sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere and how it orbited the world for years to come.